Welcome to Comfort Time with Aunty Yunike, where we share testimony stories. Our story for today is very special, and it is part 2 of the video that we shared with you on Pellagra and SOD, alcohol and drug abuse testimony. I promised that I'll invite my son to come and share his own perspective, as what I shared was my perspective and that perspective of my family. So, son, welcome to Comfort Time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I shared your experience with SOD, and I would like you to share your own experience, what led to you being in a position where you are now getting to use SOD. Please help us to understand the events that led you to be on SOD.
Okay. On a personal basis, I think, you've always been there. You know, you've helped me, you've given me the support, and even in my bad times. But quite honestly, speak about it. Alcohol got a grip on me. It was so bad to the extent that I would do practically anything just to get intoxicated. There are many factors that will lead to that. And I reached a point, for those who have seen the photos, I reached a point where my body started fighting back. It's like my system got so intoxicated with alcohol that some of my bodily functions weren't normal. And thus, I had peeling of my skin, which is pellagra, the dermatitis. I was on a point where the only step that was left was death, because basically that's what it goes through. So in as I was going through, my auntie Mary, I hear, was having some meds called SOD, and at the time, because it was quite funny. You know, we've tried quick fixes and all that. It's like one of those stories where you hear something being spoken, and you really can't say no because it's help that you're being given. So I had, in the beginning, believed that, well, let's just try it, since we've practically tried everything. And that's how it was. I started taking the SOD, I think that must have been the first week of December, because my skin was bad and it was painful. You know, it would burn and there would be the itch, which was constant. And the reason I had been given after asking was that my body, because it wasn't really functioning, there are certain cells in my system that couldn't really rejuvenate the dead cells. Everything was just crashing. And so it's basically like there was nothing that could be done. It was painkillers after painkillers that, yes, would ease some stuff off. But so the SOD came, and I started. I used to take mornings and evenings, maize Germ Powder, and we went with it. At the time, I still had, me being the addict, you know, there's always that thing of where, because people are trying to give you help, your body is also in a certain state. But I would try to think it would be possible for me to go and have maybe a drink, just so that I could ease off, because it was the normal way. That's how I had designed my system to work well for me. But as it is, I took it for a week. I came to notice, first off, I would really have the drive through my day as it started. If I do take the SOD, there'll just be something positive about it. I would have my positive aura. I could notice that my skin had been changing. So with the more I kept on taking it, days, weeks, I remember that was the second week, it was quite noticeable that my skin had been rejuvenating. And all the cracked fingers, you know, the dry skin, it was like a snake peeling skin. And most of the stuff was shedding, and somehow underneath it, my skin was coming back, and I was like recovering from it. I remember the itch would be very minimal, but it was really like I was coming back to myself. So with that, I kept on taking it. But the thing that was really, really a positive for me, if you look at the skin, yeah, it was the physical. I remember I had the issue of my feet. My feet would really burn, and it was hard for me to keep on shoes because as it is, my cells were done, my nerves, everything were done. But going through the process, it's like somehow, I don't know how to explain, but it's like I was becoming a new me. Because by the third week, my skin had become like sorted. It was totally okay. And everyone that had seen me before was surprised that in such a small space of time, I had come back to the Oscar that I was. My skin was actually better than they could notice in the first place.
Okay.
So it was surprising.
Okay, and the cravings to alcohol?
That is funny because for a long time, I say I'm someone who would drink even in my sleep. It had become so bad that I needed alcohol on a regular. I would make sure even as I'm going to bed, I have to have alcohol by my bedside when I wake up. But for the whole time that I was on SOD, not once did I ever feel like taking a drink. Somehow it's like that part of me, as I was shedding that out, there's stuff that was being fixed in me. Because we'll talk about a lot, but there's basically a lot of stuff that was going on. But even my mind space, I think with the SOD that I was taking, and even with the love that I was being shown, there was a part of me that after seeing that something positive is happening, I could feel that since the change has started, I could actually be more because the cravings were done. And I know if I had just said it then, it really wouldn't be. I had been to places, believe it or not, they had tried to help me out. I'd gone for certain types of counseling. I'd gone for prayers, people constantly. And to some point, that also was one of the reasons why my downfall, because every time they tried, even the love they were showing me, I thought to some point that I was getting too much than I deserved. Because in this process that I was starting, I had to go all out. I remember we were talking about there was something that was happening at home and family was leaving. But then in the headspace that I was in, they were asking what my stay would be like, me staying now, since they noticed my brain was in a different place. SOD had rejuvenated my skin and I was practically on the healed side, so very minimal stuff was left.
Okay,
so in my
eventually you agreed. You said you wanted to go to rehab because everything else was functioning and you think at this point you can turn your life around.
Yes,
help us to understand, because I was told that the rehab center said we cannot have you at the center when they saw the pictures of how damaged you were, because their feeling was that with that kind of wounding, it means that even your organs and your blood was not in a position where they could accept you into rehab, that you would not survive. So how did they end up accepting you? What did you do? Was it still the SOD? Did you have tests after SOD? How did you manage to get accepted into the rehab?
You know, it's quite funny because after my photos, everyone was expecting me to just die. Even the rehabilitation center, when they saw the photos and were told my story, the thing they said is most likely my kidneys and my liver are dead. That's why it had reached that point.
Okay.
So this is like in a process where I had been taking the SOD and I was even afraid to go for the test because yes, I could feel that there was something wrong before. But the confidence is that my system I could show I was actually better off than I was in the beginning because, you know, there's things of like having energy, having to survive through a day without drinking while on the SOD. That was a positive for me. So we were forced to take the tests. We went to some labs and they checked my kidneys, they checked my liver. And to everyone's amazement, SOD had done its job because there was nothing that they could register wrong with my organs.
And the blood?
Everything was clear. It was just minimal because of my drinking. My diet kind of went off, but everything could actually be said a perfect being because it was only the creatinine, which was the result of my diet that I was having before. But everything, like the blood was well, and they said he's actually fit to have me because they wouldn't have had me thinking I would have most likely died in that year. But they saw that my results were positive, and they said, well, since he's passed through the tests and everything is okay, they had me.
Okay, so at this point, what is your advice to other young people who may be struggling with alcohol and drug abuse? Do you have anything to say to them and their families, to parents? I know you said as parents, as guardians, as family, there may be things that we say or the way we behave that may trigger or encourage someone struggling with those conditions to go. What advice would you give your fellow youngsters and family and friends?
Okay. I think on that, first I have to acknowledge that I wouldn't be here saying this if I hadn't taken the SOD. And basically, I think my mind frame, even at the beginning of my journey, was because of the SOD that I'd taken, because of bodily functions. I know I'm right now considered an addict in recovery, and this recovery wouldn't have been there if I hadn't started the meds. When it comes to family, parents, even the community, you know, I've come to realize that there's no quick fix for one, and there's not a single solution for everyone. It's on different bases that we can consider the addictions. I, for one, didn't know that I was sick, but then the addiction is a disease, and it hits us on different levels. Having gone through therapy, there's actually even things that I came to learn about myself that I didn't know were reasons for my constant drinking. I would say folks in their love, our parents who give us so much love, and there are some of us that seem rebellious and all. I think the biggest thing for me is I would feel inadequate in getting love that was too much. Certain times, from certain angles, I would feel I wasn't being appreciated much because everyone was referring to the alcohol, and that drove me closer. So I think the best that people would do is embrace us, those that are sick. If they can put us in a place where they get to understand and, yes, aid us in that certain times tough love is what happens, what helps us. But they should be there at least still loving. Though it might be tough, they just give us a love, hold us close, and in that way, I think, with the baby steps that we take, eventually a person gets to learn exactly where they are going, and it becomes easier for them to recover. I believe our communities and the social system right now doesn't aid us through most of this stuff, and we're regarded as machakulwa, as they say, but there's to a certain point where it's just a disease that is it's influenced greatly by things in past that we need to help. But like I am on the journey, I feel with the help that I've been getting, the SOD, mending I think that's the plus for me.
Thank you so much. So we did, in our previous video, we did recommend that because of what SOD has done for you, maybe rehab centers should consider having that and making it part of the treatment for those who are struggling. Because if the struggle is from the cravings, and SOD helps with the cravings and the recovery of the cells throughout the body. I feel that it's something that they should consider. So my son, I'm very, very grateful for your testimony. This is going to help other people, everybody, parents, your fellow friends who may be struggling with this. And it has helped even us, even me. I've learned from just dealing with you. Thank you for having such a big heart that even when we were rough, I know I'm one of the tough love people, but you still continue to love me and accept me from where I am. So I love you. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the son that I've always known you are and are meant to be. So be
Thank
blessed.
you very much. No, that's really cool. Thanks a million.
Thank you. So there you have it. That was our testimony on the Pellagra and SOD and drug and alcohol abuse. Please share this video widely so that we can help as many people as possible. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel so that we can grow. And don't forget to give us your thumbs up so that YouTube can share our video. Stay blessed. See you in the next video.